Good morning everybody, and this is your DAX setups for today. So before we get on to the charts, just remember this is the last video for a while. We'll be traveling next week, so we'll be out of action next week. We'll be back the week after. We'll try to give you some levels for the higher time frames as well. So we are in this zone, and you can see this has been an area of resistance for quite some time. If you go back pretty much most of the year since May, actually in fact all the way back to March. I think started in March, where this was the zone of what was resistance. We tried to find support here. Resistance, tried to break through, failed, resistance. So you can see very strong area of support, and I'm just going to add one little level below. Well, actually I'm going to add two levels below. So you can see there's a pin bar here we want to pay attention to, and then you have another pin bar over here, and I'm going to there's quite a bit of structure at that level. We'll look at the exact levels now, but just so you can pinpoint them on your charts. So we're waiting for non-farm payrolls, and yeah, you could argue that this trend line's broken, range broken to the downside. It's broken in the opposite direction to what the higher probability trade would have been. So there's normally only a 25% probability of this continuing to the downside. So for me, this is just looking for support. It's looking for structure. It's coming back to test this area. It's a strong area that we broke through last week. We broke through it last week, and we've come back into it this week. So it's a very strong area, so you would expect it to be tested. So nothing here on the 8th hour is indicating continuation to the downside just yet, but it is possible. Big move down, consolidation, and then big move down again. That is possible. And the other one is big move down, consolidation, breakout, retest, continue to the upside. So when you drill down to the 3 hour, you're going to see what I'm talking about here. So we are ranging. We're in amongst all the moving averages. 150 EMA holding up price quite nicely. Have a look at your oscillators though, separated. We're starting to roll. This is indicating that there is a good probability there's a move to the downside. But with these tails here, this to me is a trap, and understanding that you're in a big zone of support, your oscillator is an indicator, and I'm going to ignore that indicator at this stage. And we're going to play the break of the range and the retest, and that's the only thing that you want to be looking at on the DAX. So the rule stays the same as what it was yesterday and the day before, to be honest. We're looking for a break above 18,660. Break above that, come back, test it, you're looking for a continuation to the upside. If we start dropping below 18,540, and it's going to be messy if it drops below there, because you're in such a strong zone of support. So I would take that with a big pinch of salt. I'd rather look for buying opportunities on the levels below, and they're going to be 18,465, 18,350, and that's it. So that's what I'd be looking for. So if it does drop to the downside, I'm not expecting it to fall to the floor. I would expect it to be held up by one of these levels here. And again, remember, you're in a massive zone of support, which we broke through in 1 week after we've been rejecting it for multiple weeks. So this is typical price action. So we've broken through, come back, and now the buyers are trying to hold this support, and you can see how the sellers are trying to come in. Yesterday was a clear range, day before was a clear range, and you're probably going to have the same today until 3 o'clock when non-farm payrolls comes out. And again, don't just jump in on non-farm payrolls. You're going to get yourself burnt. Wait for the trade to finish. And I wouldn't be trading the DAX based on non-farm payrolls. You'd rather be trading the US markets if you are going to trade, but it is going to be way too volatile, and it just depends on what the print is. If the number's really good, you're going to see breakouts to the upside. Number's really bad, you're going to see breakouts to the downside. So The next thing that you're going to be waiting for is the Fed. So the Fed's monetary policy, I'm not sure if it's next week or the week after, but that's when we're expecting a rate cut to be announced. So that would be the other thing that's going to be interfering with us. So lots of noise in the markets, and you need to keep your wits about you. Sometimes it's just a good idea just to step away, put your alarms for the break, and then when the break happens, come and sit down and figure out where the most logical area is. And that's kind of my view for today. I'm not going to be trading a DAX at all. Definitely not even going to bother looking at this today, because I know it's going to do either this or it's going to drop down and you're going to think it's a break to the downside. You're going to jump in short and then it's going to reverse and come back into the range. So I want to see a clear break, and my bias, as always, is to the upside at the moment. Markets are not designed to go down. Forex is a different story, but the actual markets, the indexes, our pension is in there, our investments are in there. They are not designed to go to the downside. They are designed to grow. Anyway, that's kind of my outlook at the moment, trying to give you a bit of a view for the week as well. But, you know, we all know that anything can happen. But, you know, the 8 hour, if this crossover doesn't happen and we start moving averages, start moving back to the upside, you should see this kind of structure start building again for a continuation up. And lastly, your target at the moment would be the top of this range that we broke last week to the downside. I'd expect us to bump ahead there, but if you break through that, then it's plain sailing, because then you are getting through the all-time high, because that is the all-time high at 18,970. Okay, and looking at the weekly, just look at the weekly oscillators here, pointing up, are separating a bit, but they're pointing up at the moment, so there's nothing here that is indicating move down. If you look at that grouping and crossover, then you had 3 weeks of moving down. Yeah, so anyway, that's kind of my view at the moment. I just think your volatility is going to be here for a couple more days, possibly even 2 weeks or so. But once the noise is settled and we defend this zone, this is going to be a fairly decent area to buy off. Anyway, that's me for today. Hope it helps, and we'll catch up with you a week after next. Cheers for now.